So we're here in Mexico for spring break, and I want to show you something that is absolutely fascinating from an entrepreneurship and a business perspective. I discovered it last night walking around with the family, noticed the pattern, and have asked a lot of people about it and read up on it. And it is this idea of Mexican pharmacies, especially in tourist areas. So my mind is blown by what I've seen here with these things. And then what I read about them is absolutely frightening. So that's what this video is about. I'll show you how it all works, give you a tour of one, and then dig into what we can learn about it as business people and learn from the situation as business people. So stay tuned. If you're new here, my name is Michael. I am a business nerd. I give myself an excuse to go work out and walk by talking about business and recording videos as I do so. So if you like that kind of stuff and you want to learn about business and entrepreneurship, give me a follow, give me a subscribe. I would love to have you see more of this stuff. I have fun making it, even if nobody watches it. The thing you notice about these pharmacies is that like all the signs are in English. Like they're basically clearly targeting foreign tourists and American tourists and Canadian tourists who come down here, don't speak a lick of Spanish, and are designed to sell you basically drugs that require prescription in the US, but you can get them here without a prescription. And except for a few things like opioids and antibiotics, in Mexico, you can get all this stuff without a prescription. You just walk in. And heck, as I read on, I started to discover that some of these places, they're selling more than just the off prescription stuff if you just ask for it correctly. Down the street here, what we'll start to see is in this tourist district here in Puerto Vallarta, there are a bazillion pharmacies that look exactly like that one. Like a bazillion of them. There's like one or two every block. It's incredible. And I'm gonna walk down the street, I'll show you. But here's one owned by the same company that's basically 50 feet from the last one that I just walked through. Same exact everything. They sell sunscreen and stuff like that, but by and large, they're pushing a lot of stuff that just requires a prescription in the US. Albuterol, muscle relaxers, painkillers, tramadol. It's serious. And look, this all works pretty well because most Mexican drugs are sold as generics, right? These guys who own these pharmacies, in theory, are going and buying these drugs from generic factories made in Mexico, in theory, high quality, and then they go and they sell those to you at a discount to US prices, which are inflated because of our screwed up healthcare system. And even if they sell you at a half price off, basically it's 100% profit for them. And as I've looked, these pharmacies, they are open all hours of the day targeting tourists. When was the last time you knew of a pharmacy that was wide open 8 a.m. until 11 p.m. every night? And look, they'll even go and ship it for you. Same company, third one in a block. And it's fascinating because this is something that happens commonly in tourist trap situations. You have this situation in a tourist trap, everybody prices at the monopoly price, which is basically the price they would charge if they were the only vendor doing it. And there's no real reason for them to compete on price at all or do better because the customers basically are in a mindset where they're only going to buy once. They'll probably never come back. They're uneducated and they frankly are just there for a good time. So they don't care about saving 5 or 10%. And then eventually everybody's prices just reach that level. And you see competition happens not on price or value, but the way these guys are competing, which is who's going to be the most convenient location. And the way they do that is by just opening shop after shop. Crazier is these shops are pretty easy to open and run, right? They just build out some stuff, sell suntan lotion and stocks of drugs. And it's all super low cost because frankly, they didn't, they get it all generics and they're going to be selling it at super high margin. I had hoped coming out this earlier was going to be quieter, but it turns out this is the racket time of the day when everybody's moving stuff around and the music's already started at some of these places. We're in Puerto Vallarta, by the way, but I've read this is the same kind of situation with pharmaceutical sales across all different types of tourist areas of Mexico. By the way, there's another pharmacy like right over there. They're not open yet. It's crazy. And what's crazy about this, if you're an entrepreneur, is it goes against your ideas of what and how capitalism should work and how free markets should work. You have a situation here where the right play for you as an entrepreneur is actually to charge super high prices and to compete on location rather than price and to compete with yourself like crazy. Because if you look at this, a number of the individual shops have all competed are all owned by the same company. Like there's 2 or 3 brands we've seen with a couple of independents as we walk around. And the right move for these guys, and this one I'm coming up on here is Pharmacy of PV. This is one of the biggest chains here. I've seen probably 10 of theirs within a 3-block radius. Like the right move for them in a crazy world is actually to keep competing with themselves over and over again. Because based on just the customer dynamic and this cruise ship kind of tourist trap methodology, eventually, like if you're not going to compete with yourself, well, somebody else will come in and do it. So if there's market share, you might as well grab it. And that's what these guys did. One of the things that's fascinating about this is how a screwed up set of economic rules in the US, in other words, our screwed up healthcare system, causes us to have high drug prices. And then those things turn into an economic opportunity for somebody here in Mexico, based on them playing by different rules, to basically allow people to do arbitrage. Like in theory, buy these drugs here in Mexico, they're cheaper than they're going to pay in the US. And, it's the byproduct of a screwed up economic set of rules affecting like one other country. Oh, by the way, here's another one. It's like, this is not a hard video to record because frankly, like you just stick out your finger and you see a pharmacy, catering to American tourists. So yeah, like cool. And I think as you see that, you're like, okay, cool. What's the big deal? Well, there's a dark side to all this. So we can end this on a downer. Is that the LA Times, and I'll put a link to the article below, the LA Times came through and sent some reporters down here to kind of investigate this whole thing. And they went and bought drugs of all different types, right? Everything from sleeping pills to amoxicillin to Adderall at these different shops. And they went and tested them in a laboratory. And that's when things got weird. What those reporters found was scary as hell. And personally, I have one video of me walking through these things, but I'm actually pretty scared of these pharmacies after what I read. And what these reporters found was that 70% of these drugs were tainted with something else. So you had 70% of what was reportedly Adderall was actually meth. What was supposedly a sleeping pill was actually fentanyl. And who knows what's in the HDH and stuff like that. You may be getting a horse tranquilizer and stuff like that. So, I think it's one of those things where it's like, oh, I'm glad somebody checked into this because somebody got to die. Like you take a body like mine that doesn't know anything about opioids and give me some fentanyl, I'm not going to make it. And it scares the hell out of me about these places. And what's interesting is after that article, the government and everybody here became pretty aware of what's going on with these drug places, with these pharmacies. And frankly, they're drug dealerships. Let's be clear about what they are. They are not pharmacies. And the government knows what's going on. Like all these reports and stuff like that has gone straight to folks there. And they actually went in places like the Yucatan and Cancun and went and tried to shut down and raided a number of these places and found all these illicit pills and stuff, and shut down 23 or 25 of those types of pharmacies as a symbolic gesture after the LA Times article. But then you come here a couple of years later, that LA Times article is from 2023, and these places are still operating with impunity. And look, I talked to a couple of people here in broken Spanish and in English as well. And some people would tell me that their places are just targeting tourists and they just are what they are. But those tended to be people who would turn a blind eye to the cartel and folks like that here in Jalisco and what they do. And then some of the gringos I talked to were just like, yeah, those are cartel businesses. They're how they get cash into the system. They own that. And that's just one of the things they do. And the reason it probably gets some blind eye turned to it is because, frankly, they only sell to gringos. Like they're not targeting folks here that are Mexicans. And if I read that if you go in there and you're a Mexican national and you try to shop or walk through there, you get treated totally differently than if you're a gringo. So anyway, fascinating. And thanks for being here. Let me know what you think in the comments below. See you, bye.